GMG1 Leon Tucker Jr. I was a turret captain in turret number 1.
Mark Elwanger, I was seaman.
My name is Ann LaCourte, and in the Coast Guard Auxiliary, I am the SOVE, meaning Staff Officer on the division level for vessel examinations.
My name is Thomas Gallucci. I was a gunner's mate. I came on the ship as a seaman. I left as a second-class petty officer, or E5, gunner's mate. Left gun captain, turret 2.
My name is Jack Nodriff. I was a machinist mate, third-class machinist mate.
How did you react to seeing the ship for the first time?
It was, it was big.
Humbling and very emotional.
And I said, God, please, you got to get me on board the New Jersey, the greatest thing in the world. I came on in September of '87. I joined the Navy on the 23rd of May, 1973 in Great Lakes, Illinois.
I was the ship's counselor. I enjoyed my work on this ship from beginning to end.
Well, I spent my whole time in boiler rooms and engine rooms.
To be on this ship, though, and to go to Vietnam, you had to be a volunteer. So even then we had draft back then. We could draft people into the military. I joined the military and I then volunteered for Vietnam service. That was a prerequisite to even try out for this ship. 50,000 sailors tried out to be on this ship, to be part of the crew, but only 1,400 got to be part of this crew in 1968.
Normally I would have been in an engine room, but they had machinist mates, I think 26 machinist mates in B division, which is a boiler technician. And we took care of all the pumps on the lower level of the fire room. Well, the boilers were above where I worked, and we handled all the feed pumps and booster pumps, condensate pumps, fuel oil pumps, transfer pumps, fire pumps, all of that stuff. So my brother had already been in the Navy, and he says, sign up for brother duty. Okay.
So we were all very patriotic and felt that we were doing the nation's work.
The crew, the men that I served with on this ship. The ship is just a big hunk of steel here all by itself. It takes the men to bring it alive. And we had a real bonding crew when I came aboard.
Being on board. Going everywhere with it. Passing other ships, and they would salute us first, and then we would salute them.
Coming back to this, though, reminds me of what it sounded like then. What we did there, how we served the nation.
How do you think that your military service impacted your life?
The military service probably guided my life and everything I did.
The Navy was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, that's hard to know because you wouldn't know what you'd be like if you didn't serve. So I think it gives me a remembrance of all those that served before us. All the other sailors, the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines, and what they gave and what their families did, you know. So you keep looking back and you think about all the lives that were lost. And in my view, they were the best of the best. So what would America be like if they were still alive? What would their impact be? So that's kind of how I felt about my service in the military. It teaches you a whole lot, makes you grow up fast if you hadn't grown up, but it will forever change you.
The only thing that don't change in the world is that everything changes.
You know, there was over 1,700 people on board, and you're so busy standing watches and so forth that you really didn't have time to meet a lot of people. You basically only knew the people that, you know, worked in your environment, which is a small number, really.
We were different jobs. I was an officer. I was an electrician, born electrician. And you were what, B-22?
I was a machinist mate, third class machinist mate, but I was assigned to B division, and I worked down under the boiler where all the pumps were.
The Memories of my ship is basically the history of the ship. The New Jersey was launched December 7th, 1942, a month, day, and year after the attack on Pearl Harbor. She was commissioned in the service on the 23rd of May, 1943. The top of the mast, the tack on, there's an inscription that says, "Welcome aboard, Ensign." The ship is 887 feet long, 0.5, and it's 108 at the beam. We can fire a 16-inch projectile that weighs 2,700 pounds, 25 miles in 40 seconds, with 6 bags of black powder behind it.
One special thing is the Vietnamese said, before we sit down at the peace table, we want the USS New Jersey to leave the Gulf of Tonkin. So we quite quickly, the Department of Defense and the President of the United States said, New Jersey, you're going home. There was always sound and always people everywhere. So everywhere you went, you were never alone. You're never at any private time anywhere. And then coming back to the United States, there was no parades, there was no thank yous, there was no recognition of the service that you did for this country. And that was a tremendous disservice to everyone that served. So today, of course, I received this lapel, being 55 years after my service here. I received a recognition from the United States Congress for what we did in Vietnam. And for all those people who didn't survive or didn't last 50 years to get this, just went without it.
For spending your time with us and helping our club preserve
You're welcome.
American
Thank
history.
you.
Thank you.
When you're lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know, and your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go.